Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Welcome to another Enough Already podcast. I'm your peppy host, Fingers Malloy, along with my lovely co-host, Tracy L. Connors. And Tracy, much like Ruth Bader Ginsburg, impeachment will never die. So I don't know. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago, how uh, I think you are in the same boat that I am in, where I'm completely bored by this at this point. And I thought to myself, wow, they're gonna uh, vote on the two articles of impeachment, and it'll be done. They'll send it over to the Senate. They probably won't even have a trial. It'll be over with, and everything will get back to normal again. And it's not happening. It's just staying in the House, and it's not going away. And I don't know what to do with all this, Tracy. I'm completely out of my mind with frustration and boredom at the same. It's like going and shopping for minivans, basically. It's like you're just
Which you're
trapped
in the
shop.
process of, which is going to end sooner.
What do you think? What do you think of our pal Nance?
Oh, I think she's just great. I'm waiting for her to bring out Lamb Chop, and then they can do the song that never ends on a loop. Because that seems to be what this is. I mean, this started, I think there was an article that came out within an hour of Trump taking the oath of office saying the impeachment push begins now or something to this effect. So we finally got into the end zone, or so we thought, and now they're just going to sit on the football.
Yeah.
And I can't tell how long this is going to go on for. I mean, I can think of some reasons for delaying it for a long time, like potentially to get past Iowa and give the senators that are in the Senate a chance to get out there and campaign in the month of January instead of being tied to Washington to behave as jurors in the trial. Or she could sit on it until next year, and they can use it as an election, a get out the vote kind of push. Hey, we're not going to be able to get this through now, but keep us in the majority in the House, get us the majority in the Senate, and then if Trump gets reelected, we'll make this a real deal and kick him out for good. Because they know he's not going to get kicked out. I mean, that was a foregone conclusion.
I just don't know how you can make a case unless you have a corrupt media behind you, which they do.
Yes.
If they hold on to it well into next year, and even after the election, if Trump gets reelected, how can you possibly make a case, unless he actually breaks the law between now and then, that they have grounds for impeachment? I mean, it looks really sad and pathetic that they're holding on to this, especially if it's something that they're planning on using after the election if they lose. It's sad, pathetic, and terrifying. It's all rolled into one. That they're completely fine with using a method of removing an elected president based on what we haven't seen any laws being broken had been broken. If we can't beat them, we'll figure out another way to get them out of office. Wow, that's quite a system we have here if they're allowed to get away with this.
Yes, and remember, he's the divisive one in all of this.
That's right.
He's so divisive and dangerous that even though we could send this over to the Senate and get it resolved once and for all, we're just going to sit on it. And you have to wonder how many people out there believe that he should have been removed from office this week when the vote went through. That they expected that to just be a done deal. Oh, he's gone now, right?
That
President
was on Twitter.
Pence forever. Oh,
that was on Twitter. Oh, yeah. There were people tweeting, how long does he have to leave the White House?
Oh, dear God.
Yeah. Well, public schools. What can I tell you?
I know. But we have to pay for those fingers.
That's true.
And every child must attend. If not, their parents should go to jail, says Kamala Harris.
Yeah. From the people who do a great job with our roads and schools, let's put them in charge of our healthcare too, Tracy.
Sure, why not?
That's a fantastic track record. But, I mean, listen, you go back to the day of the vote. And Nancy Pelosi's wearing black because this is a solemn occasion, Tracy.
Of course. She prayed about this a lot.
Then she got up there. She got on the House floor and gave a speech and recited the Pledge of Allegiance.
Yes.
And someone put a side-by-side clip of the old lady who's supposed to be giving a prayer during dinner and Christmas vacation, and instead she saying Pledge of Allegiance. It sounded eerily similar between those two ladies. But you watch the whole thing unfold, and the narrative at the very beginning of the day, she's walking in with black on, Tracy. It's a very solemn occasion, and Democrats didn't want to do this. And Dana Bash is on Capitol Hill pounding the narrative. Oh, it's a solemn occasion. Democrats really don't want to do this. And then fast forward to the first article of impeachment being passed by the House and Nancy Pelosi announcing that it's passed, and she pounds the gavel. And these Democratic congressmen who were told at the beginning of the day, no celebration, control yourselves. This is a solemn occasion, wink, wink. These children couldn't help themselves. And Meemaw, Nancy Pelosi, had to whip her head. Her falsies almost fell out of her face. And the look she gave the Democratic side of the aisle, I swear 3 of them turned to stone.
It was the most Catholic she's ever looked. Right? That's like the old nuns just... And she wanted to wrap their knuckles with a ruler and make them kneel on the cold, hard floor outside in the hallway and think about what they did. Because it is very somber.
You would think that a woman with her kind of wealth, too, could get a better partial.
Well, this is what I was saying to somebody the other day, because we were talking about Joe Biden's had his teeth kind of flopping around in his mouth, and now Pelosi's been called out by Trump for having this issue. Aren't dental implants a thing?
Yes, but
so they could be hardwired into your jaw.
Yes.
With the amount of money those two, Biden and Pelosi, have spent on plastic surgery over the years, I don't think that would be too huge of an investment for them to make.
I think it's more of an investment of time and the pain factor.
Potentially, but to avoid that embarrassment, because at some point somebody's going to lose them entirely.
Right.
That's my prediction for 2020. We're going to see somebody's false teeth go flying out of their heads. And I was thinking about all this talk about the founders, and the Democrats have newfound respect for them, and they're no longer evil white men who gifted us this racist system of government. They are to be heralded and just worshipped. And I was thinking the only thing that she really has in common with them anymore is the fake teeth. That's the closest she's getting to the founders.
Yeah.
Yeah. So look for the teeth to go flying. And you know what? As a woman, I am so insulted. And I know that that's something that I very rarely say, but this is all part of my repeal the 19th push. Mm-hmm. When I see coordination of outfits by adult women, and I think I'm supposed to take you seriously, they coordinate their outfits for every single event. Is there anything that seems more childish and silly to you?
You know who else coordinates their outfits? The wait staff at Stuckey's.
Oh, God.
And there's nothing wrong with the wait staff at Stuckey's, but yeah, you're right. These are political leaders. What was it? The first year it was during was it the first year of the Trump presidency? During I believe the Me Too movement was really starting to get its legs, and they all came in. They dressed in white during the State of the Union address.
They've done that multiple years.
Yeah, they looked like a crew from a cruise ship.
Yeah. But, they should be given positions of power, and potentially the highest position of power in our country.
Well, did you see the debate question the other night? The way it was framed, where I believe they were asking Bernie Sanders, and President Barack Obama said that and I'm paraphrasing, we'd be much better off if we were led by women. And of course, all the nagging seals in the background who heard that, they're like, yay! Started clapping. Yeah, it's right. And what do you think of that, Senator Sanders, as an old white man? What Barack Obama said? I was like, well, why did Barack Obama run for president to begin with if the world would be so much better being run by women? The pandering is just out of control. It's I wonder. You're a woman, Tracy. I don't wonder that. I know you're a woman, but you would think when you hear a politician or a journalist, in this case, the journalist frames a question in a way that's totally pandering, and then the politician that is going to have to answer that has to pander to women. Aren't you insulted at all?
Yes, but I don't associate myself with those women, so I don't engage in this vicarious offense. For the most part, I just roll my eyes because it's so silly. And it tells me that none of them have ever spent any time looking at history. And it's funny that you say that, and I can't remember where the piece is, and I didn't bookmark it, but I would have had it on the ready if I had known we were going down this one. But I saw a piece this week that had truncated a study about female rulers and their affinity for bloodshed. And it was just like, here are all these queens. They kind of have a body count that's pretty damn high. So where is this idea that come from that if women ruled the world, it would be this really peaceful place? It's kind of silly, but it seems to be accepted wisdom.
I talk to folks, Tracy. Bill O'Reilly calls them the folks. But I talk to people of my generation. I don't talk to many people who are older than me. And so maybe there is a divide.
Or
what's that?
There aren't many people that are older than you?
No, it's getting harder to find them. But I just don't know of many people, and I know they're out there, that really give a crap whether the president of the United States is a man or a woman. I really don't. I don't see it. I mean, if a capable female candidate was running for office and believed what I believe, I'd vote for that person. Who gives a crap if they have male or female genitalia? Who cares? Do people care? Why are people so focused on this? I'm speaking about this coming from the perspective of a white male, Tracy. So
yeah,
maybe...
so obviously you don't know what you're talking about.
Right.
No, it would make a huge difference in my life. I'll tell you that. Well, if anything, I imagine, say, if Elizabeth Warren becomes the first female president, that would be awful for me because she's going to be terrible. She is, and they'll be, no man can criticize her. So then all that just falls on the rest of us in society to take the shit that can't be given to Elizabeth Warren. And it's like, we gave you your woman president. How did that work out for everyone? So that'll never happen again.
I'm really looking forward to an Elizabeth Warren presidency where everything is sexist. I mean, we've gone through the everything is racist. Now we're going to go through the everything is sexist. Like if a Republican female were to be voted into office, and she became the next president of the United States, it wouldn't affect my tax cut at all.
No.
It simply amazes me that they think that a lot of us think this way. But, and listen, I'm sure there are people that hate the idea of a woman being president, but I just don't think it's as prevalent, that mindset, as people make it out to be.
No. I mean, how many television shows have we been forced to think are brilliant that have female presidents? I mean, this has been accepted. They push the stuff through the culture first, and then it just becomes like, it's not a big deal.
Are women funny, Tracy?
No.
Okay, fair enough.
Most people aren't funny. Right? By and large, the population as a whole, what do you think? 2% are insanely funny, maybe even 1%? I mean, people can be entertaining and amusing. There's a couple people at work, that make you laugh and can bust up a meeting with a good one-liner, but people that are funny enough to do it professionally, that's a really small percentage of the population.
That's true. And plus, the focus of humor is so much different for men and women. So, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, if you happen to be a man and you make the mistake of walking by a wedding shower or a baby shower or something, you got a group of women, sitting around and they're talking and laughing. And if you happen to hear some of what they're talking about, if you're a man, for the most part, you're going to be like, what the hell's so funny?
Mm-hmm.
what, what are they laughing about? I don't get it. What? So I don't know if that translates to a massive audience of, you know,
Right.
men and
Well,
women, that sense of humor. So that's why you see a lot of comics who are female that don't make the same jokes that they would make at a bridal shower, or
right. Right.
the kind of humor that would appeal to a baby shower, which
Well, a lot
apparently
of
that.
humor is cruel. And I think men engage in that as a bonding exercise. You bust on each other.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that doesn't go over too well with the ladies. You don't really rip into your girlfriends.
Well, it's hard to come up with an act that will play well when it comes to that attitude when so much of your ripping on other people is behind their backs.
Yeah, it's
I
true.
mean, and that's when the
Unless you're
claws
on a
come out.
reality television show. Which I don't understand why that whole genre hasn't gotten it through people's heads that women probably should not be president. Look at how awful they are to their best friends.
Wow. Yeah, this is it's interesting. These are interesting times, and it people can say that, but say what you want about Nancy Pelosi. She's done a pretty good job of being able to hang on to that gig.
Oh, yeah. Well, and do you think it's because people like her or because they're terrified of her?
Well, they're terrified of her, and she's a good fundraiser.
Mm-hmm.
So, listen, if you can make your way up the ladder to become Speaker of the House of Representatives and lose the gig and then get it back and lose it and get it back. And nobody cares about that, by the way. No. Do you think there are men who are lying awake at night going, oh my God, the Speaker of the House is a woman. A woman.
That's why we got to this point.
Oh, wild times. So
it is.
No, but it was fun watching impeachment sweeps, government sweeps week, and we thought that it was getting canceled, but it's been extended another season apparently. So God only knows what's going to happen next and when.
Yeah, I hear Netflix picked it up. That's one of the things. Isn't Valerie Jarrett over there on the board? And Barack and Michelle have a big, 20 picture deal over there. And
yeah, when is speaking of the Barack and Michelle deal at Netflix, when are we going to start seeing some stuff? Or do they just get to go around and do they have Hunter Biden's agent, or they just collect checks and not have to do a damn thing? I mean, when's that book of his coming out? What are these Netflix shows? What's going on?
He's never putting out a show. He's never putting out a book. They're never doing a show. Like I've got it. I didn't Google it. I DuckDuckGo now. Screw Google. I DuckDuckGo on my Brave browser.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got a New York Times article from April 30th of 2019. The Obamas and Netflix just revealed the shows and films they're working on. So this is, Jesus. This is a long time ago.
Please tell me it's a MASH reboot. Is there a MASH reboot?
Oh, they're working on a documentary called American Factory that examines life in Ohio, where a Chinese billionaire opened a factory in a former General Motors plant and hired 2,000 people. This sounds like a snooze fest.
Listen, as someone who has worked in a factory, I can assure you nobody wants to watch a show about factory work.
No, unless it's fun. I mean, you could do kind of like an Office style, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Like that documentary style kind of thing. But
Sure.
No release date on that one. The next one is called Bloom, which is a drama series set in post-World War II New York that will explore the, quote, barriers faced by women and people of color in an era marked by hurdles, but also tremendous progress. That sounds boring, too.
Oh, they're going to acknowledge tremendous progress?
Potentially.
Oh, because it's 2019 and I could have sworn times like these, it's just like 1945.
MAGA,
Nothing's
baby.
changed.
MAGA. That's how we get here. That was the whole point, my fingers.
Unreal.
Okay, next up, this doesn't sound too horrible. A film adaptation of Frederick Douglass's Prophet of Freedom. That could be decent. He was a pretty good writer. I've read a couple of his autobiographies.
Okay.
Okay, this sounds sad. An adaptation of a New York Times series called Overlooked, which is about people whose deaths were previously not reported by the newspaper. The obituaries have been published in a reoccurring feature in the paper now. That sounds really sad. None of these sound... Listen to Your Vegetables and Eat Your Parents. A half-hour series for preschoolers that will, quote, take young children and their families around the globe on an adventure that tells us the story of our food. Wow.
Nothing about that sounds like an adventure.
No, it sounds awful.
Let's explore the adventure of me watching that show while I take a nap.
That sounds just as entertaining.
Yeah.
And I bet
as adventurous.
Yeah. Yep, so no release dates on any of those. But what a pity.
We just got in the wrong business, Tracy. We should have gotten into politics.
There's still time. Hell, you can run for president to your late 70s.
Yeah, you can run. Clearly, you can run for president into your late 80s, like Bernie Sanders. But who wants that? This is why we need Scam Pack now more than ever, Tracy. Okay, this needs to happen.
We'll make a 2020 promise that Scam Pack will be a real thing.
So we can film documentaries. And speaking of documentaries, Tracy.
Yes.
Isn't it nice to finally find out that the world has been played by a 16-year-old girl?
Well, I don't know that she's playing the world. I think the producer's behind this whole thing.
She's part of it.
Yeah, I suppose. I think her parents are part of it. They signed the deal, I would assume. That they had to be involved in this. Although I don't know what Swedish laws are like. Is that what she is, Swedish?
Yeah, whatever.
Okay.
Well, the whole thing makes sense now. I mean, I never understood how she could just waltz into the UN and give a speech.
This is called really good field producers.
Yes. I mean, I joked a couple weeks ago that if you added booze to this, it's basically an absolutely fabulous episode. It's like, oh, how did I wander? Oh, I'm speaking to the UN. What? Give me a microphone. I'll give a speech. Holy shit. Now I'm on a boat. What's going on?
No. What we've been watching is a television show. And so what's coming out next year is a Hulu documentary about Greta's rise to fame. So that's basically the behind the scenes of them making the television show we've been watching for the last year and a half, because they started following her around in 2018. So for those of you who don't know, I spent a fair amount of time in my life working in television and film production, including the wonderful world of reality TV. And here you go, kids. Spoiler alert, reality TV for the most part is not real.
Oh, stop it. Yeah, no, it's real.
No, it's really not. So what happens is a bunch of producers get into a room and they figure out, okay, we want to build a story arc, right? Mm-hmm. So what are we going to have our characters go through? Our little hero journey for Greta. So this is how a 16-year-old girl that comes out of nowhere that started, maybe they found her because she was taking Fridays off of school and calling it a climate strike, which is genius. And Europe is very big on strikes. These national strikes that they have over there, which are hilarious until you get caught up in one of them, which happened to me back to back when I was over there about 15, 20 years ago now, I guess at this point. I was in Spain and they went on strike from 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. And then when I was trying to get to Italy, they did the same thing. I'm like, what's the point of this strike?
Did you see?
We want a day off.
Did you see the story in Paris this week where they had a 391 mile long traffic jam because of the strike that they're having there with transit workers? 391 miles long, because one of the main reasons they're striking is because they want pension reform. The French government does, and they want to make it to where, originally you could collect your pension at 62. They want to move it back to 64.
Oh, okay.
391-mile traffic jam.
That's like the entire length of the country.
Yeah.
All right. At a certain point, don't people get hip to this and they just don't leave their houses and bother to go anywhere?
Well, the only two trains that were running at the time, commuter trains, were the trains that were being run that were automated, that don't have a conductor. Gee. I wonder what's in the future.
Yeah. We don't see that train, that slow-moving train coming barreling down on us of automation and get rid of you. Guess who doesn't need pensions? Robots.
Right.
Yes.
But back to Greta. I didn't mean to
No, it's totally okay. So, I mean, that's the high-level version of this story, is that this whole thing is manufactured for entertainment purposes. And she's the star of for all intents and purposes, a reality show.
Well, you mentioned story arc.
Yeah.
With your Hollywood background. Well, let's examine that for a second.
Okay.
Here you have, we'll say she was 15, maybe 14 when some of this stuff started.
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of like the kids that they sneak into the Little League World Series. They're like, oh, this pitcher, he's 14. You're like,
now wouldn't that be a
kids
story?
Sitting in the front row.
Wouldn't that be a story? She's actually 31, and we.
Well, it happened recently, and we didn't talk about it on the show, but I'm sure you heard about that story of the little girl who was adopted by a nice Christian family in the Midwest, only to find out that she's actually like 31-year-old with I can't remember if she's actually has dwarfism or whatever. Did you not hear this story?
No.
And she was trying to kill them? Oh, yeah. Well, we'll have to do...
That's
okay, year in review podcast. We'll save it for that. All right, I'm writing this down.
Wow, that's great.
Okay. So anyway, back to the story arc story.
Well,
yes.
So say she's 14 or 15 when she decides that she has no future because of climate change, and her childhood is being ripped away from her because of climate change. And so here's this little girl with a message. And she becomes more popular, and then she finally gets her day in front of the UN to give a speech, and she gives a great speech, and she becomes an international superstar, and then she ends up on a cruise ship. We're gonna say it's a cruise ship. It was a cruise ship.
No, it was some nice Australian family, I believe, that was just happened to be taking their catamaran from the lovely shores of Cape Cod or something up in the Northeast over to Spain for God knows what reason, and we give her a ride. That's a producer that set that up.
Of course.
It is. I worked with some really, really good field producers. And it would just be like, hey, we need... One of my favorites was... I won't give away too much because I've signed a bunch of NDAs, but I can say this much. She was jumping ahead of us on a reality show because we decided we wanted a story arc where one of our characters met with a real-life pimp. So she got sent out into the field, and you damn well better believe she showed up with a real pimp that was willing to go on camera and share his pimpin' ways with the rest of the world. And it was wonderful. And I'm like, how do you do this? I mean, that's pretty resourceful to be dropped into a city you've never been to before, and then within 2-3 days go find somebody that's willing to go on camera and admit to being a pimp and then share all their wisdom with everyone.
You know how you do it?
How?
Craigslist.
Oh, probably.
Oh, I wonder... I wish there would be a way for us to backdate Craigslist ads to when she needed a lift.
Yeah.
Hey, does anybody have a boat that's heading to Spain that would like to have a 16-year-old hitchhiker come along?
And a camera crew? Honestly, they have to have had the whole crew with her. There's no point in her having these adventures if it's not all caught on film. And what was it, a week or two ago she got busted for lying about how crowded how she didn't have a seat on a train when she was training at home. Did you miss this story?
No, I saw that. They took pictures of her sitting on the...
Yeah, with 20 pieces of luggage because, she's low impact life, that girl. She's going to save the planet by not having a bunch of material possessions. And she weighs about 85 pounds. And yet her suitcases weigh 350 pounds. Somehow she's able to schlep those around the globe, fit them on that little, the tiny little boat that they had to make do on. The whole thing has been manufactured.
And by the way, if you're a 16-year-old and there are no seats, you're damn right you're taking the floor.
Yeah. Yes.
It's not the case here. It was all a big lie, but still, you're damn right you're taking the floor.
Right.
How dare
you? How dare you? No, she had a first class seat. And the good on the German train company that was like, yeah, no, we hope you enjoyed your luxury suite that you had on our train where we waited on you hand and foot. And the 6 bellhops that were dispatched to carry your luggage, Miss Thunberg.
Who paid for all that?
The production company.
I mean, but who's paying for all of this? That's what I would like to know too.
Well, it got sold to Hulu. It's coming out on Hulu.
So Hulu's paying for all of this.
Yeah, and I think Hillary's got some deal with Hulu.
My damn Hulu Live just went up $10 a month this month. And now I know.
Oh, yeah?
Now I know. My money's going.
Oh, God. But just, you can't believe anything that you see anymore. Nobody just skyrockets to fame out of nowhere like this.
No, you can't believe what you see, and you there are times where you want to believe something and you're not allowed to see it because the tape goes missing.
Right.
Which brings us to Jeffrey Epstein.
Yes.
So this is interesting. You have, what is it? Is it 2 prison guards, I believe, who were arrested for negligence from preventing Jeffrey Epstein from getting murdered in the prison or committing suicide. A lot of people forget he tried to commit suicide, a few weeks beforehand?
2 or 3 weeks prior.
And this is precious. So the video footage near his cell of the first attempted suicide has disappeared, Tracy.
Of course.
So there's this the guy that was sharing a cell with him, and God only knows how you pronounce this man's last name. I'm going to give it a go here, Tracy. His first name is Nick, and his last name is Tartaglione.
Tartaglione.
Tartaglione?
You didn't grow up around Italians, huh? Yeah, Tartaglione. Come on, fingers. Yeah, he's a crooked cop that was in there for murdering a bunch of people, right?
4 people.
Yeah.
So, there was a hearing for his case, and this is how this all came up. And he wants that footage of that video because apparently, I'm going to call him Nicky. Nicky's lawyer. Nicky. Tartagliano? Leone?
Leone.
Tribbiani? What?
Sure.
So, Nicky's lawyer told the White Plains District Court that he had asked for the footage to be preserved to show that Nicky had behaved appropriately and even admirably on the night of the incident on July 23rd, per the New York Post. Now, here's what this footage has disappeared. So here's what our betters in government and the media want you to believe. The second attempt, there's no footage. The camera's malfunctioned. This first attempt, there was footage, but it's gone.
Oops.
Tracy, how many people do you know who have Ring doorbells?
Right. Either that or Simply Safe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got a little doorbell camera that you can watch a porch pirate come up and steal your box of tampons or whatever you're having shipped to you. And somehow with that $99 camera, you're able to capture that footage and it's saved and it's accessible and you can find and you could turn it over to the authorities or put it on full blast on Facebook and Twitter and MySpace. And so we're supposed to believe that that technology is out there for the folks, and yet somehow in our nation's prisons, they just can't seem to get their act together with cameras and videotape. Oh, the camera didn't work. Oh, we lost the tape.
Yeah, budget cuts,
Now,
budget cuts always make people lose stuff.
Right? Well, and the argument can be made that it is possible that they did lose the cameras did malfunction because we found out just a few years ago that our nuclear weapons systems were basically being run on floppy disks. For all we know, all these prisons are running on cameras that send the footage directly to a Betamax recording
backup
machine, Betamax, and the Betamax tape got lost. But I mean, come on, there's no way that people are going to buy this, right? I mean, it just keeps feeding into the conspiracy theory that something's fishy.
Right. I'd be more willing to buy that it was stolen than that somebody's trying to sell it. That would be more likely. If it's just gone missing, I believe that. Oh, it's just lost. What? I mean, the CIA pulled the same crap in the 70s when there was actually the church committee hearings, where they decided, okay, these intelligence agencies have gone rogue enough, and we're going to actually look into what the hell they're doing. You can't imagine how many documents just miraculously went missing. Just gone. Oops. It's like part of the screening process for getting a job in the federal bureaucracy, no matter where the hell you're working, be it from a prison or the CIA or the FBI. Are you good at losing stuff? They even have those little things now for people that are constantly losing their things. I think it's I can't remember what it's called. The tile or something that you stick it to your phone if you lose your phone all the time, and then you can just tweet at. I don't know how it works because I don't lose my stuff all the time. So this is why I don't work in the government.
Yeah.
But you'd think something like this is the most high-profile prisoner in the federal prison system at the time. Nope. And of course, none of the guards are going to want to help an ex-cop that's in there for multiple homicides.
Right.
To make him look like a Boy Scout. Like, he saved Jeffrey Epstein's life. We've got it on video. Yeah, I think that's going in the trash.
You talk about a law enforcement officer who can't do anything right.
Right.
He's killing people on the street, and then he's saving a dirtbag like Jeffrey Epstein from offing himself. He should work for the government. What?
Well, he was.
Yeah.
He just messed up. He got caught. Every once in a while, they got to punish one of the bad apples.
Oh, goodness. So, we were talking about ships earlier, Tracy. And did you see the cruise ships that collided?
Well, I saw it because you put it in front of my face. And you said, hey, I want to talk about this. Because you have a fear of cruise ships and you think this vindicates that fear.
Well, it does. Listen, if you didn't see the footage, these were Carnival ships. It was the SS Minnow, and it ran into the SS Salmonella off of Cozumel. And they were very close to being docked. I mean, this is simply amazing. The one ship looks like it's trying to get away, and the other ship that ends up slamming into the ship, it's turning, and the front of the ship, I'm not a seaman.
The bow?
Is it the bow?
Yes, you got bow, stern, starboard, and port.
The bow of the ship goes right into the dining hall of the other ship. 6 people, last I checked, were injured.
Aw. Then their buffet got interrupted.
Yes.
That's the biggest injury here.
Well, listen, I've argued for years, Tracy, that cruise ships are death ships.
And this surprises me so much, knowing how much you love casinos, open, all-inclusive kind of stuff. This is just that on the water.
Yeah.
But I think you're
One of
afraid
two
of the
things
ocean is
happen
what
when you
this
get
all
on a
comes
one
down
of two
to.
things happen when you get on a cruise ship, Tracy.
Okay.
One, you die from salmonella,
Mm-hmm.
or two, you leave the casino at 3 o'clock in the morning, never to be seen again. You fall, air quotes,
Okay.
overboard,
Right, right, right.
never to be seen. They're death ships.
I survived one.
Wow.
Yeah. It was pretty low key.
No, no problems with the food, if
No
you know what I
problems
mean.
with the food. Nope. No problems with the food at all. No problem whipping everybody's butt at the daily bar trivia game that went on,
Mm.
which was the highlight of the afternoon. And I got a good tan. So that's all I really look for in a vacation.
Well, isn't Carnival like the Groupon of cruise
Yeah, I
ships?
think so.
If I'm not mistaken, it's like a White Castle on a boat, essentially,
Sure.
for what I've been told. So I'm sure they get nothing but the best and brightest
Mm-hmm.
running those ships. So I'm sure that the captain who was at fault here, unless there was like a ridiculous mechanical malfunction, I'm sure the captain will be reassigned, and all will be well. Maybe they'll bring back. They'll have to do some sort of damage control with the brand. Maybe they'll bring back Kathy Lee.
Oh, that would be good damage control for them.
Do you remember the Kathy Lee Gifford commercials?
Not
Kathy Lee,
particularly.
if you could see me now. No, I'll have to put it in post.
Right. No, and my most recent interactions with her, as far as her appearing anywhere, was that morning show. I don't know if she still even does it, where they were cracking wine at like 9:30 a.m. Her and that Hoda lady.
What a sweet gig.
I know. Talk about ab fab.
Yeah.
You can have a morning show for all those stay-at-home moms. Ladies, it's time to uncork your bottle for the day. It's 10 a.m. Yeah.
Your dumb husband's at work.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
But it's funny we have that video, but not the video of Epstein. You would think that some of the prison guards in there would have been running their own videos on their cell phones. I sure as hell would have been if I was a prison guard there. I'd be leaking out videos to TMZ, getting paid cool 10, 15 grand to do so.
Oh, I thought you were saying cover your own ass videotapes.
No, I'm saying videotapes of him in his prison cell. I can't believe that there's not a videotape of him, post whatever the hell happened to him. Or
Well, there was
photographs.
never any OJ jail cell footage.
Yeah, but that was the 90s. That's not when everybody had a camera in their pocket.
Well, no, I mean, even with OJ being in jail recently for
that's
trying
true.
to score his memorabilia back.
Yeah. Yeah. But there's plenty of footage of him now. Hey, Twitter world.
Isn't that awful?
Yeah.
Hey, Twitter world, it's your old pal OJ coming to you from Buffalo Wild Wings. And I got to tell you something. I'm really upset with my picks this week. Jameis Winston, what's going on? Throwing 3 interceptions. You're making me look bad. Yeah, that's what's making you look bad.
Exactly. But he seems like a happy guy. If everybody could be that happy, the world would be a better place, fingers.
It's true. I mean, he is... The amount of mental gymnastics that you have to go through to somehow make yourself into a victim when you're O.J. Simpson. But I think he does it.
Yeah.
I think he's able to do it somehow.
And people can't stop watching his Twitter feed.
And he likes to troll people. I mean, who is at this point on Twitter, who's the better Twitter troll? O.J. Simpson or Donald Trump?
Oh, Donald Trump. Come on.
You think?
It's a totally different league. Absolutely.
Is it?
Yes.
OJ has to know every time he tweets, he's pissing off millions upon millions of people. And I know Trump feels the same way, but it's just OJ's existence. People expect OJ. OJ should have just disappeared. If he wasn't going to be in prison, rotting in a jail cell for the rest of his life, just go to your little condo in Florida, play golf, and don't show your face in public other than that. And what does he do? Oh, hi, Twitter world. It's your old pal OJ.
I don't know. I think he could be so narcissistic that he's completely oblivious to the hate. He probably just turns off his notifications. Whoever set him up on Twitter didn't explain to him how it actually works, that people can respond to you. He just thinks it's a one-way dialogue kind of thing.
Well, he talks. He mentions the haters from. I know the haters out there are gonna say this and it's gonna say that. One of these days, I'm gonna do a show completely doing my really awful O.J. Simpson impression. It's fun if you talk like that. Oh, hey, Twitter world. It's your old pal OJ.
And a DJ on the oldie station.
Hey there, fancy cats. That was Herman's Hermits.
Oh, kids, Google Herman. Yeah, I can't even get it out of my mouth. Herman's Hermits.
Herman's Hermits. Well, I don't know, Tracy. We have anything else we want to talk about?
I've got a bunch of impeachment stories up where every lawyer has a different take on what actually happened. So if we've learned anything this year, it's lawyers don't agree on what the hell is going on with the law.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, that's their job, right? If you're going to go through law school, which I considered for a little bit and went and sat in on a class, and it just occurred to me, oh, these people are totally without principle and they're willing to argue either side of any case depending on which side hires them.
Right.
So this is why you have lawyers at the top of their professions who see two totally different things. Reading the same exact thing, they'll come out with two totally different reads on it. So you've got some lawyers that are like, oh yeah, he's been impeached because the House voted on it. And then you say no, it's not an impeachment until it goes over to the Senate and they have a trial. So we're in impeachment limbo right now. They could potentially impeachment purgatory fingers. And that reminds me, yep. I wanted to ask you, since you're from Michigan, how offended were you that Trump intimated that John Dingell might be in hell?
You know, I go back and forth on this. And of course, I wasn't offended. There is a part of me that wishes the president of the United States wouldn't engage in this sort of dialogue because he's the president of the United States. But I enjoy it now because I'm really sick and tired of the pearl clutchers who laugh, howl. They get a scream when Trump is called an idiot, when Trump is called a racist, a bigot, a homophobe, the skin color is made fun of, his hair is made fun of. And he turns to one of his critics who's now dead and says, yeah, you know what? He didn't say this, but it's like saying, oh, yeah, go to hell.
Yeah, which John Dingell apparently said to him on Twitter.
Yeah. And it's, oh, my goodness, how could the president of the United States say that? Oh, you know what? You go to hell, too.
Exactly. But he said it way more entertaining than that. I love the clip. I thought it was hilarious, just the timing of it. When he's explaining that he gave him, the state funeral, the A treatment, and made a big deal out about that. His wife, Debbie, who's now sitting in his seat, which, how long was he in that seat, Fingers?
Oh, 50 millennia? Years.
Yeah.
Well over 50, yeah.
Will you give him a state funeral? Yep, we'll lower the flags, roll out the red carpet. This guy gets anything that he wants. And then Debbie says to him, I think he's looking down on us today. And Trump said, I don't know, maybe he's looking up at us. And that's how it's delivered, right? It reminded me of one of my favorite clips of all time, which was him ripping on Kasich for the way he would eat on the campaign trail. It's been an unspoken rule in politics that if you're doing all these diner stops and these little towns, you don't actually eat on camera. And Kasich couldn't help himself. So he's just like shoveling food in his face.
Oh, the spaghetti picture is just priceless. God. Yeah.
And so Trump told a story about how Barron was seeing it on TV. And he's like, don't watch. Don't watch. And it's the same kind of like whispered kind of voice. And there was the same delivery with this whole thing with the John Dingell. Like, I don't know. Maybe he's looking up. What can I say? And so this morning I'm watching, my favorite cartoon, AM Joy, just for a couple minutes to see what they think is the most important thing on this somber and historic week that we've had. And they're talking about this story. And Joy tees it up by saying that Trump said that John Dingell is burning in hell. And I thought, that's not what he said. And then they cut to the clip and they show the clip and he says, maybe he's looking up. I don't know. But then they proceed to have a whole panel about how he said that he was burning in hell. So.
And how many of them even believe in hell to begin with?
That's what my second question was. But we know Pelosi does because she's a Catholic.
Oh, that's true.
She's very serious about this. That's why she's wearing all black. It's very somber. Very somber.
Oh. Well, Tracy, I think we have to wrap this up because, we videotaped this too, and I still don't have my studio done. So the Sun, for those who are watching the Enough Already podcast on BitChute and YouTube, they're seeing quite my lighting is very professional in this shot, Tracy.
Yeah, it looks great. You're half in the shade, half in the sun.
Yeah, it reminds me of that Star Trek episode where they had the people who were half black, half white. I know you're a huge Trekkie, so you know exactly what I'm talking about.
I know exactly that episode.
Oh, good Lord. The Star Wars phenomenon. I guess there's a new Star Wars movie coming out this weekend, or it came out or something.
Yes, I believe it's already out.
It looks like people are shitting on it.
That's a new thing.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, ever since they started doing the prequels, which were, 15 years ago, those went over really well. And then Disney bought the rights to everything and kicked Lucas out of it. And it's just been smooth sailing ever since.
I haven't seen a Star Wars movie since probably Return of the Jedi, if that tells you anything.
Oh, I've seen the original 3 multiple times because they were wonderful. And then I did see the prequels. And I've watched.
Were they any good?
They were okay. There was some funny. My favorite line is Samuel L. Jackson was in them, I believe. And there's some kind of like a Roman Colosseum deal going on, and people are battling these weird alien animals and stuff. I think that's what's happening. All I remember is just him, like he's a Jedi, and they land in there, and he turns to the camera. He's like, "This party is over." I was like, this is so bad. But if you watch the original 3, the dialogue's not all that great in these movies. I mean, it's a space soap opera.
That sounds like a line from a really bad Lethal Weapon sequel.
Yes, maybe it was. I'm sure Danny Glover has spoken that line multiple times. Could have even.
By the way, they're talking about bringing Lethal Weapon back.
Of course they are. Maybe they'll bring the Naked Gun back too.
Well, you're gonna need a shovel.
Yeah. Hey, if you've seen The Irishman, which is so unwatchable, I wouldn't recommend it to anybody. I made it through about an hour and 20 minutes of the 3 hours. But if you don't know, Fingers, they instead of hiring young actors to play Pesci and De Niro in the flashbacks, they just use CGI on their faces. It's so bad. It's really kind of off-putting and upsetting. It's like the Polar Express creepiness of the whole thing. But they could do that with Leslie Nielsen, just hologram.
Well, does it look like what they do, that meme, the Orange Man Bad meme on Twitter?
It's pretty bad.
Yeah. What are those characters called, the gray characters?
Oh, I don't remember what that... Wojak?
Yeah,
is that
something like that.
The NPC? I think his name is Wojak. Yeah.
Well, the sun's in my eyes. I have to go. So remember, you can catch the Enough Already podcast where all good podcasts are sold. And check us out, especially on Apple Podcasts, and leave us a 5-star review, please. It will help get the Enough Already podcast into more ears. And you can watch the Enough Already podcast on YouTube and BitChute. Final thoughts, Tracy?
Well, I think we should let the folks know we're not sure what our recording schedule is going to be like for the next couple of weeks, because we've got vacation and Christmas and New Year's and all these things. So that's why you should subscribe to the podcast, because then as soon as we get a new one out, you'll know.
Yeah. So there's that. Subscribe to the podcast. Yeah, we got vacation coming up. I'm going to the casino in a couple of days. I'm very excited about that. And then, catch the Snark Factor podcast, which is on Wham. The radio show's on Wham Talk 1600 AM in Ann Arbor, and you can catch that podcast on, iTunes. It's not iTunes anymore. Apple Podcasts. We're all fine. Podcasts are sold just like this podcast. And I'm filling in for Tony Katz, January 2nd on WIBC from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. So check that out as well. But other than that, that's it. So she's Tracy. I'm Fingers. We'll be back soon with the all new Enough Already.